and welcome back to Your American Story on FM News Talk 104.7. This is your host, Raja, and joining me right now is James Lomuscio, co-founder and CEO of Hability, whose product is a fun and social accountability tool for health professionals and their patients. For those of you who are listening today, the format of the Running with the Bulls contest is we're going to start with James, who's going to pitch for 4 minutes, and then we're going to turn it over to our 3 judges, each of whom will have 3 minutes, and then James is going to have a 1-minute close. Our radio show producer, Daryl Grandy, will be our timekeeper, and he'll have a yellow flag 1 minute from your close time, a red flag, when your time's up, and a firm stop sign 15 minutes after the stop. And at this point, I'm going to turn this over to James. But James, before we start, I want to say congratulations on getting, you just got married.
Hey, thanks very much, Raja.
And I tell you what, as an entrepreneur, you're working long hours. This is testing true love.
Yeah, my wife is, she's in it with me, so it's good. Yeah.
Good. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to you. You have 4 minutes,
great.
James.
Thanks a lot, Raja, for the opportunity. My name is James Lomuscio. I'm CEO and co-founder of Hability, and I'm here to talk about the healthcare industry's $300 billion secret. It's that most of the healing process doesn't happen in hospitals or clinics. It happens in the patient's home. And most patients do a terrible job of helping themselves heal. Now, this is especially true for physical therapy, where 70% of patients just really don't do their at-home exercises. And what we get is this: slow healing, discouragement, and a lot of missed appointments. So recovery from an injury takes time, sometimes a lot of time, and patients who don't do their at-home portion of their exercise plan, they double their losses. These are patients who stop coming to their appointments. They drop out because they don't see immediate progress. Now, this directly decreases reimbursements for physical therapists, and it causes needless suffering. So our solution to this problem is Hability, a platform to provide consistent engagement with patients throughout their healing process. Hability delivers playful, automatic messaging designed to turn the process of healing into a series of easy, sustainable habits. Healthcare habits are tough because there's no immediate reward, and that's what Hability provides. Hability communicates with patients on behalf of their therapists via text message, motivating them to do their exercises in return for those follow-up visits, in effect increasing billables and improving the patient's overall experience of care. So the market for our product is there. Over the past year, a number of home exercise apps have hit the market to address the same need, such as Home Stretch and Go Motive. All of them focus on providing patients with videos of proper exercise technique. But this is Hability's advantage. While these products have limited themselves to physical therapy, ours can be deployed in a number of outpatient clinical settings. There are 165,000 of these in the United States. For us, this is a total addressable market of $605 million. So we're a company of award-winning game designers and developers, and we're using our backgrounds in neuroscience and economics to create playful systems that truly motivate people to change. My background is in neuroscience, particularly interested in just how people form new behaviors. That's where the habit thing comes in. And my co-founder, Adam Nelson, is an award-winning game designer, and he's an expert on taking something that's challenging and turning it into something that's fun. So our team has made a lot of progress since the beginning of the year. Today, 8 physical therapy clinics from across the country use our product, and as are 2 of Pittsburgh's largest physical therapy chains. One's done with their trial and is paying us monthly. Most importantly, the feedback we're getting is good, both from the therapists and the patients. In short order, we're going to begin marketing Hability to more of the 25,000 physical therapy clinics in the U.S., so it's selling subscriptions to our software for between $99 and $499 a month. In fact, Hability is priced so that if just one patient shows up for just one more appointment that they would have missed, our service has already paid for itself. To that end, we're raising a seed round of $350,000 as a convertible note to acquire our first 400 customers. We're going to pay for future software development and trade shows mainly. This gets us to cash flow positive, $1 million in annual revenue, and puts us on a path to acquisition by an electronic health records company or an insurance provider down the road. So thanks for hearing us out. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, James. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard James pitch to our judges in our Running with the Bulls contest and Your American Story, FM News Talk 104.7. Our first judge is Alicia. I'm going to turn this over to you.
James, how is it that you chose the physical therapy segment of healthcare?
Yeah, so I think the question we often get is, or the way that these conversations go is, they'll understand that it's about habits, and they immediately, I know where a habit could apply. It could apply here. It could apply there. And you're right. There's a lot of even within healthcare, a lot of places where habits would be great. Physical therapy, we think is sort of at the forefront of adopting these technologies, any sort of technologies, to both monitor compliance and monitor outcomes. And the next step is then to get the technology to increase those outcomes. PTs are sort of an independent breed. The typical clinic is between 2 and 5 physical therapists in an individual firm. And they often are in a position to both feel the pain, because they are a PT and see the patients every day, see that they're not doing their exercises, and also in a position to make that purchase decision.
So you mentioned that you have one customer who's come through the trial phase. So tell me about the data that the trial produced. Were they able to demonstrate? I mean, how did you construct a trial, if you did, that demonstrated that people were more readily doing these at home, and and there was an increase in visits, which would be the billable component of this?
That's right. So by trial, what I mean is they went through using our software for free and now are paying for it. Getting to the point where we can run a true scientific and statistically significant study of the effect of dropkicker, that's our big sort of next push. We're going to be working with a physical therapy clinic out in Seattle and called the Core Physical Therapy. We're going to be using Hability, that's the new name here, with 40 patients using our software, and 40 patients going through the typical physical therapy regimen. The Core Physical Therapy is a clinic that has adopted these pieces of software that are able to monitor and measure their outcomes, so as to be able to detect whether or not the software has the sort of desired effect in outcomes. This is patients getting healed better, healed faster. What you can tell before that is if they do actually show up to their appointments. This will take a quick integration with a client management system, but it's something that we can do and have plans to do with our current users.
Is the outcome going to be reimbursable in essence at some point? In other words, are physical therapists going to be held to a standard that there has to be improvement?
Yeah, that's a great question. So physical therapy, along with a lot of the outpatient medical care provider space, if you will, is shifting from what they have now as a pay-for-services reimbursement model, where these clinicians get paid every time you show up, to something of a pay-for-performance model, where their reimbursements are a function of how quickly and how efficiently they get you healed. Penalties for things like readmissions or re-injury. So not only will the tools that we're building be more important, a lot of insurance companies, are mandating that their providers not only have the tools to monitor, that's what they're doing now, they're going to be asking and insisting that they have the tools to boost those outcomes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Next up, we have Roger. I'm going to turn this over to you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. James, what is to make me, I don't quite understand, why should I go to an appointment that I wouldn't have gone to before? I may do more exercises at home. Why does that make me attend the appointments?
So the typical reason that a physical therapy patient drops out is because they feel discouraged and they don't see the point of showing up to an appointment. And this is typically because they're not making visible progress. And even if you were doing your exercises every day for the first week, you would probably have the same ability you did on day 1 that you did on day 7. What Dropkicker does is provide an immediate, we call it a micro reward. It could be in the form of a joke, a link to a funny YouTube video, or a clever contextualization of the progress that you've made to encourage you along the way. Part of this is to help you better understand that the progress that you're making is real and has a value to it. Part of what we do is send updates on your progress to your friends and family, if you so choose, so that they can provide encouragement or a kick in the pants if that's what you need to help you along your way. And this, we feel, is something that does encourage the patients to actually keep going to physical therapy by seeing the effect of the stepwise progress that they're making.
I see. Thank you. So you mentioned the price of your product. How will you price it? Is it per the number of patients that I'm treating, or how does the pricing change?
Sure. The pricing scales based on the number of physical therapists at a clinic. What we found is that typically physical therapists have about the same amount of patients, that they can just sort of handle a certain load of patients per week. So that we can scale our pricing based on the number of physical therapists. So a single physical therapist working perhaps in their own physical therapy clinic would be charged that $99 a rate. And as you scale between 3 and 5, it increases, and then a full clinic would be that $499.
So the return to the customer is on the basis of increased visits. Is
That's
that
right. That's right. And there's also, we believe, an increase in the sort of perceived quality of care. Every time you come in, the physical therapist can print out a record of your compliance and perhaps some other messages that you've sent in. Hey, it hurts when I'm doing this particular exercise. The PT can then adjust your home exercise plan, or it informs their next conversation with you.
So how would you sell?
It primarily through trade shows, at least at first, for the next year or so. Physical therapy across the country, every state has their own physical therapists association. There's of course the national, the American Physical Therapists Association, and they each have national conferences. These are great opportunities for us to get some traction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Running with the Bulls contest on Your American Story. Our next judge is Mel. I'm going to turn this over to you, Mel.
Thank you, Roger. James, do you have do you have an estimate at this point of about how much increased productivity or throughput a therapist might have when they use your system versus not using your system?
As
In
far
other
as
words, do you expect that they'll actually be able to handle more patients, the therapist?
we don't think they'll be able to handle more patients, but what we can say is that they'll be at capacity all day. So when you have a missed appointment, when someone doesn't show up, no one else is coming in to fill that spot. It's not like a barber where there's always a line. People come in for set appointments. So if someone misses it and they can't be billed for it, then this is just lost money. So what we can say is that they'll be working at full capacity throughout the day.
Now, how does that happen? If somebody misses an appointment, how does your system know to plug another person in there?
Oh, no, that's not quite what I mean. What I mean to say is that by using Dropkicker with all of their patients, they'll have overall a higher, or rather a lower delinquency rate, or a lower portion of missed appointments, so that they can bill for each of those throughout the day, as opposed to having a couple blocks that were missed. The big key here is patient dropouts. When someone just decides, throws up their hands and says, this $40 copay twice a week isn't doing it for me. It's usually because they're not doing their exercises at home.
Do you have a sense, based upon your statistical background, as to how much of a decrease in patients missing their appointments, or in fact dropping out altogether, how much you would expect to decrease those things?
Decrease patient dropouts?
Yes.
Yeah. What we can say is that there's probably about 20% of patients who don't do their exercises whatsoever, probably will not. 20% of patients who do them pretty regularly, and a middle 60% that we think we can really influence. And again, our software is priced so that if we can get that one patient to show up to that one appointment that they would have otherwise missed, the software is paid for itself in a month. I think we can cut the delinquency or missed appointment rate easily in half, because that's the rate at which we have seen that we're doubling compliance.
Okay, and one final quick question. When do you expect to have that study done that will demonstrate the actual efficacy of
So the study begins at the end of this month. We're hoping for a 3-month study. That'll probably be enough for this particular clinic to get those 40 patients admitted and then, I guess, finally discharged. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have those numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the radio like never before. Our region, the Pittsburgh region, has a great ecosystem for entrepreneurs. But really, to get the process moving along, entrepreneurs need money, and we have investors who look to, and ask these kind of questions as they make their decisions. And you're hearing the real live questions from our judges. And this is insightful to any of you who are interested in starting a business, or even if you are happily working. This is going to help you decide who you want to vote for. So at this point, James, I'm going to turn this over to you for your 1-minute close.
Hey, thanks very much, Raja, and thanks for the questions there. I really think our team is in a great position to hit this market, really because the outpatient medical care industry and healthcare in general is continuing to move towards these outcomes-driven reimbursements. And the kinds of tools that we're developing are not only become valuable, they're probably going to become mandatory, at least from the perspective of the payers. And that could be as far as hospitals and health insurance as well. And I really think our software is positioned to be able to be deployed in a number of these regions, healthcare sub-industries, if you will. And I think our backgrounds are well suited to the task. Habits are tough, and I think healthcare habits are particularly hard when that reward is so far away. Getting back to tennis or getting back to golf or even walking the dog, that can take months. And when you don't have someone coaching you, sort of at your side and encouraging you along the way, it gets even harder. So Dropkicker helps give you a little foretaste of what's to come. And what we've seen is that's been making all the difference. So thanks very much.
Thank you, James. Thank you, judges. Ladies and gentlemen, if you liked what James had to say, please go to the website, youramericanstory.com, and you can vote for James. You have a week that the voting is open, and you can make an impact on the region by helping select the entrepreneur who gets $2,500 cash and a number of doors being open. At this point, we're going to come to a close of this segment. So again, James, thank you. Judges, thank you very much. We're going to go to commercial break. This is your host, Raja, and I'll be right back.